She looks at you like she sees something no one else can. Not the man you are, but the man she hopes you'll become. And for a second it feels powerful. Like maybe you're chosen. But what if I told you you're not being seen at all? You're being scanned, measured against an image she doesn't even know she's carrying. Because this isn't love. Not yet. This is projection. And Carl Jung, he warned us about this, not with fluffy talk, not with romantic nonsense, but with brutal psychological truth. He called it the animus, the inner masculine ideal living inside every woman. And when it goes unchecked, it turns men into actors, not partners, not equals. Actors in a story they never agreed to star in. You're not her man, you're her mirror, her canvas, her reconstruction project. That's why at first you feel like you're everything, and then out of nowhere you're nothing. She didn't fall out of love with you, she fell out of love with the illusion, the one she created. The one you never even knew you were playing. But here's what no one tells you, and what most men don't dare admit. You wanted to be the illusion. You liked the way she looked at you. It made you feel chosen, validated, important, until it didn't. Until the curtain dropped, and you realized you weren't being loved. You were being used, not maliciously, not even consciously, but used all the same. And the fallout? It's not just heartbreak, it's identity collapse. Carl Jung didn't just study this. He lived it, he mapped it, and he left us a warning most men never read, and even fewer take seriously. But you're here now, so let's talk about it. Let's tear the mask off. Let's face the truth Jung spent his life uncovering. Before we begin, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video so we can keep bringing raw truth to men. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and tap the bell so you never miss the truths others are afraid to say. Let's be honest. Most men today are confused, not weak, not lazy, just quietly confused. You do everything right. You show up, you try to be kind, you try to be strong, you listen, you give, and yet somehow it's never enough. One moment she says you're perfect, the next you're a stranger. She pulls you in, then pushes you out. She says she wants honesty, but punishes you when you're real. She says she wants a good man, but ends up chasing chaos. And you're left standing there, wondering what the hell just happened. That's where Carl Jung comes in, not as some mystical philosopher, but as a man who spent his life mapping the invisible parts of the human mind. See, Jung believed that what we think is love often isn't. He believed that most relationships are not built on truth. They're built on projection. What does that mean? It means you're not falling in love with her. You're falling in love with the idea of her, and she's doing the exact same thing to you. She's not loving you for who you are. She's loving a fantasy version of you that lives inside her head. That fantasy, it comes from what Jung called the animus, the masculine image that every woman carries deep inside her psyche. If it's immature or unbalanced, she won't even realize she's projecting it onto you, and neither will you. You'll just feel like a man being seen, when really you're being used to act out her inner script, and when you stop fitting that role, you get replaced. No conversation, no closure, just gone. Jung warned us about this. He said most people never love the other person. They love their own projections, and until you learn to see it, you're doomed to repeat it. But here's the thing, this isn't just about women. It's about you. Because men today are starved for truth, and they're tired of performing. They're tired of pretending. They're tired of chasing women who don't actually see them. That's why this video matters. Because if you understand what Jung discovered, you won't just survive these games. You'll finally walk away from them. For good. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been chosen for a role you didn't sign up for? There's something intoxicating about the way she looks at you in the beginning, like you're the missing piece, the answer to a question she's been asking since childhood. You feel chosen, special, like maybe this time it's real. But here's the truth Carl Jung exposed, and most men still refuse to hear. She isn't seeing you. She's seeing him, the man she's been building in her mind for years. The inner image she doesn't even know she's carrying. That image has a name. Jung called it the animus. It's the masculine energy within every woman's unconscious. And when she hasn't faced it, she projects it onto the next man she feels drawn to. That's you. You think she's falling for your character, your values, your soul. But in most cases, she's not. She's falling for the story. A private movie you didn't write, but you're expected to star in, and you feel it, don't you? That pressure to keep performing, to keep being that guy, the one who always knows what to say, the one who never gets too weak, the one who protects her emotions, even at the cost of your own. You want to believe it's real love, but it's not. It's fantasy love. And fantasy love always has an expiration date, because the moment you show her something she didn't write into the script, flaws, uncertainty, real human emotion, she starts pulling away. Not because you're broken, but because you've shattered the illusion she was in love with. Now here's the part that cuts deep. You let her do it. You smiled when she told you that you were different. You soaked in her compliments, her hope, her hunger. And maybe, just maybe, you played into the role because you wanted to be loved, and she made you feel like a king. But you weren't the king. You were a character, a placeholder. And once the role didn't fit anymore, she moved on to someone else who did. Jung said it plainly. Projection blinds us. It replaces reality with illusion. And until you learn to spot it, you'll keep falling into the same pattern over and over again. You'll meet a woman. She'll project the animus. You'll respond with performance. Then the mask will slip, the illusion will collapse, and you'll be left wondering what the hell just happened. This isn't hatred toward women, it's awareness. Because women do this unconsciously. It's not always manipulation, it's psychology, and it's older than both of you. The real tragedy, you're playing a role in her head while never fully knowing the man in your own. Jung believed that most men never actually meet themselves, because they're too busy chasing the love of someone who only sees them through a filter of dreams and projections. He saw men again and again who confused being desired with being understood, who mistook being chosen with being truly seen, and it always ends the same way. Not with drama, but with emptiness. You sit in silence, trying to rewind the tape, looking for the moment it started to fall apart, and thinking, if I had just done more, maybe she would have stayed. But here's the truth. She never knew you, not the you hide from the world, not the you that cries alone, not the you that questions everything when the lights go out. She knew the script, not the soul. And when that hits you, when you finally accept that you weren't loved for who you are, but for who she imagined you could be, that's when the real work begins. Because now you've got a choice. You can keep chasing the next illusion, or you can start asking the harder question. Who am I when I'm no longer performing? Who am I when there's no applause, no validation, no stage? Jung believed that every man must wake up from the dream of being chosen, because that dream keeps you weak, it keeps you waiting, it keeps you small. And the moment you stop chasing her dream, You can finally start living your own. You can stop being the actor and start being the author. That's not easy. It hurts, it strips away everything you thought made you lovable. But it's the only path to truth. Because love without truth isn't love. It's performance, it's theater, it's spiritual exhaustion. So, here's your first step. Start seeing when it's not about you. Start recognizing when you're being pulled into someone else's fantasy. And then walk away, not with bitterness, but with clarity. You were never meant to be her project. You were meant to be your own creation. Be honest. Have you ever changed yourself just to be loved or accepted? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk about something most men are too afraid to say out loud. There's a quiet war going on between men and women. Not physical, not even verbal. It's psychological, spiritual, and at the center of that war is something Carl Jung called the animus gone rogue. Every woman carries an inner masculine image. It's not evil. It's not wrong. It's part of her psychological structure. But when it's immature, when it's not confronted, that animus doesn't guide her, it possesses her. And that's where things get dangerous, because now she's not engaging with men from her true self. She's engaging from a phantom ideal, a fantasy version of masculinity that dominates her unconscious thoughts. Jung warned that a woman in this state becomes argumentative, self-righteous, morally superior, yet completely disconnected from emotional accountability. She'll lash out without logic. She'll criticize without clarity. She'll moralize like a preacher, but refuse to look in the mirror. And if you're the man caught in her storm, you won't know what hit you. You'll think, if I just stay calm, if I just don't react, if I just love her better, she'll come back to herself. But she won't. Because in that moment, she's not really herself. She's become a mouthpiece for the animus. And here's the sick irony. You're playing a part in a script that you didn't write. You're the target, but you're also the volunteer, because long before she turned cold, long before she started testing your boundaries, you gave up your frame. You silenced your truth. You started performing. You became what you thought she wanted, predictable, safe, comfortable, and here's the bitter pill. That's exactly why she lost interest, because the feminine doesn't crave comfort. It craves depth, challenge, mystery, not manipulation, but presence. And the moment she senses you've lost your edge, the moment you become just another obedient man seeking approval, she disconnects. She might not even know why, but her body feels it, because on a primal level, the feminine instinct doesn't trust a man who betrays himself to please her. She senses it, even if her mind can't explain it. And Jung saw this pattern play out over and over again. He called it spiritual possession, a psychological takeover, a woman ruled by an unconscious force, a man performing for survival, nobody's home, just roles, just masks. This is how attraction dies, not with a bang, but with a quiet slide into numbness. You think being agreeable will save the relationship. You think being nice will bring her closer. But Jung would shake his head and tell you, you're killing your own masculine soul, because performance never sustains desire. It drains it, drains you. You become less of a man, not because you're weak, but because you're disconnected from your truth, from your needs, from your boundaries. And without those things, you are nothing but a mirror for someone else's fantasy. The worst part, you start to believe it's your fault. You think you're not enough, that you need to be more successful, more romantic, more emotional. But the truth is, you just need to stop playing a part. Because the moment you stop performing, the moment you speak your truth, even if it shakes, that's when something real can happen. And yes, some women will. Leave when you stop the performance. Let them. That's not loss, that's liberation. Because the woman who needs a puppet, who needs a safe man to carry her projections, was never looking for love. She was looking for control, and you were playing right into it. Jung didn't write fairy tales. He wrote warnings, and one of the clearest ones was this: when a man surrenders his individuality for acceptance, he becomes spiritually ill. He called it neurosis. You call it heartbreak. Same disease, different language. So what's the cure? Not bitterness, not rage, not revenge. The cure is truth, living your truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes people. That means you stop asking, what does she want from me? And start asking, what does my soul demand from me? Because when you live from truth, you stop attracting people who want your mask and start attracting those who want your essence. But you won't get there by nodding, smiling, agreeing, fitting in. You'll get there by standing firm, by saying no when you need to, by risking rejection for the sake of your own integrity. That's what Jung meant by individuation. It's not about becoming better, it's about becoming real. And realness always costs something. It might cost the fantasy, it might cost the girl, but it will never cost your soul. Drop a comment if you've ever felt like you had to play a character just to keep her around. I want to hear your story. Let's get one thing straight. You're not a victim, you're a volunteer. No one forced you to play the part. You stepped into the script willingly. Why? Because being the character she wanted felt easier than facing the man you actually are. It felt safer, cleaner, romantic even, and every time she gave you that look, the one that said, "You're everything I've ever wanted," you fed it, you craved it, you let it define you. But Jung said something powerful. He said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. And you did. You avoided your soul. You buried your truth beneath charm, performance, and polite silence. You let her fantasy become your identity, because, let's face it, it felt good to be wanted. It felt good to be seen, even if you were only seen through the lens of illusion. And now you're wondering why you feel so hollow, so tired, so invisible. It's not just heartbreak, it's emotional dependence. You handed her the keys to your self-worth. You needed her approval to feel like a man, but Jung knew that's not masculinity, that's slavery. Real masculinity begins when you no longer need to be chosen. When your value is rooted in who you are, not how well you perform. And here's the paradox. When you stop performing, when you finally become untouchable, that's when women become most drawn to you. Not because you're cold, but because you're real, because you're grounded. You're no longer trying to be her dream, you're simply being yourself. Fully. Unapologetically. That's the man she can't control. That's the man she respects. And yet, most men never get there. Why? Because they're addicted to the applause, to the compliments, to the illusion that they matter only when they're needed. But what if you could stand alone? What if you could let all of that collapse and still remain whole? That's the essence of Jung's process of individuation. It's not a weekend workshop. It's not a trendy quote on Instagram. It's a brutal, lifelong stripping away of everything false, everything performative, everything that makes you unpalatable to others, but poison to your own soul. Jung said individuation requires a man to die before he dies. And that's what you've been avoiding. You fear being alone more than being fake. So you stay in character. You rehearse your lines. You shrink yourself to fit her fantasy, but it's not love. It's spiritual decay. Because the longer you perform, the less you remember who you really are. And when she leaves, and she will, because fantasy always collapses, you'll be left with nothing but questions. Who was I before this? What do I want? What do I believe? And maybe for the first time, you'll sit in the silence and feel the grief of a life half-lived. That's the moment Jung pointed to. That breaking point. That threshold where most men quit. They go back to performing, back to chasing, back to trying to earn love through obedience. But a rare few, they keep walking. They let it all burn. The mask, the role, the addiction to being wanted. And from that fire, something real starts to emerge. A man, not a character, not a savior, not a puppet. A man who knows himself, a man who isn't afraid of solitude, a man who doesn't need to be chosen because he already chose himself. That's the man who cannot be controlled by fantasy, who cannot be seduced by illusion, because he's finally anchored in something deeper, truth. He doesn't fear rejection because he doesn't live for approval. He doesn't fear walking away because he knows what he stands for. And women, they feel it. They sense it instantly. Even the ones who don't understand it. They test you. They push. They try to see if the old performance is still there. But when it's not, when you stay grounded, they don't walk away. They surrender, not in weakness, but in respect, because you're not begging, you're not bending, you're not pretending, you're simply standing. And that's rare, that's magnetic. That's what she was searching for all along, but didn't know how to name. Not a nice guy, not a bad boy, a real man. The kind who holds his own soul and doesn't outsource it to the nearest warm smile. So if you're tired of the games, if you're tired of trying to be enough for a fantasy, let this be the moment you choose something different. Don't go back to sleep. Don't slip into bitterness. Don't wait for her to see you. See yourself. Choose yourself. Honor the part of you that has been screaming for freedom behind every fake smile and every silent night. Because Jung didn't just give us warnings. He gave us a challenge to stop living as someone else's idea of a man and finally become who we were meant to be. The man who chooses himself cannot be replaced because he was never performing in the first place. If you've made it this far, then you already feel it. That pull inside your chest, that quiet voice whispering, "This is the truth I've been avoiding." You're not broken. You're not weak. You're not unlovable. You're just tired of being someone you're not. Tired of acting. Tired of performing. Jung didn't leave behind a feel-good roadmap. He didn't offer 5 steps to a perfect relationship. He handed us a mirror. And in that mirror, most men see a stranger, a man shaped by rejection, a man molded by the desire to be loved, a man who would rather be chosen than be real. But here's the brutal truth. You can't be both. You can't live for her fantasy and honor your own soul at the same time. You have to choose, and that choice, it will cost you. It'll cost your comfort, your need to be liked, your false sense of safety. But what you gain in return is everything. Clarity, strength, self-respect, peace. You stop chasing approval. You stop molding yourself to fit a role. You stop bleeding just to make someone else feel whole. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, exist differently. And the world, it feels it. Some people will pull away. Some women will panic because you're no longer easy to control. But the right ones, the real ones, they won't want to control you. They'll want to meet you fully, truthfully, as equals. That's the kind of connection Jung believed was possible. but only when both people have faced their own darkness first. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting to be seen. Start seeing yourself. Start doing the work, because no one else can do it for you. Not her, not society, not your friends, only you. If you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. It helps more men like you finally see the truth.